So, page 20, Darius has assembled some Greeks. He wants to ask the Greeks a question. How much money would they be happy to accept? And on the basis of that money, want to eat. Sorry, when the power cable's in, the mouse is sort of on drugs. How much money they would want to eat their basic vocab, their dead fathers. Apothnesko, I die. I suppose strictly it means their dying fathers, their dying parents. I'm sure dead would be more appropriate. The plural of epher is ephazan. Oh, sorry, look, this is what it does. It's ridiculous. But I've got no power. So, would that be any better? No, it wouldn't be, would it? It would still be all over the place. They said, the key word here, I think, is erdain, which means to do. It's a rare verb to mean to do. Far less common than poieo. But anyway, they said, now remember, this is interesting. So the subject of the main verb is they, the Greeks. They said that they would do this. Of course, in Latin, you would expect, look at that, wow, that is technology at your fingertips. You'd expect say. But because the subject of the main introductory verb is also involved in the reported statement, whereas Latin must have say, Greek doesn't bother, it just leaves it out. So we've met that in a translation passage recently, and here it is in the set text. They said, hoi, they said that they, as they have taken the charger out, it may crash at any moment now. They said that they would, there's the would, the an, that they would, I don't know what I'm doing now, I don't seem to be, right, okay, there we go. That they would do this for no kremati, for nothing, for no money. They'd never do this. It's appalling. That's what the Greeks said. Don't forget, Herodotus is, well, in part here, he's sort of paying Darius, the Persians, a compliment, because most peoples, most conquering kings, wouldn't care two hoots about their subjects. But actually, the Greeks on Turkey's western seaboard were treated very leniently by the Persians, by and large, as long as they paid their taxes to Persia, to their Persian overlords, to the satrap who was the governor of this province of the Persian Empire. The Persians left them alone. So Darius anyway has summoned some Greeks and asked them this question. Meta plus the accusative means after. Meta tauta. After this, Darius, kalao is called, having called, tous, those, I'm going to say those of the Indians, called the Kalatii. If you Google them, they'll come up with a C rather than a K. Can't tell you anything about them at all, apart from the fact they're an obscure tribe from India. So I think Darius has got a sort of western extreme of his empire and asked them what they would do in this situation. and then he's gone to the extreme east into India. Blimey. Okay, right. And we're told about these Kalatii, who, esthio is to eat, who eat their parents. I suppose Gonias could be any type of forebear parents or grandparents. They certainly don't waste the opportunity for a decent meal. Apparently they do eat their own forebears. Okay, so having called those called the Kalatii, those of the Indian tribes called the Kalatii who eat their parents, he asked, oh, sorry, I've got the shakes again now. He asked. Then we've got a long parenthesis. With the Greeks being present and through an interpreter. Ooh, look at that. Manthano is understand. Oh my God, this is just crazy. Understanding the things having been said. Remember Charlie Johnson wonderfully translating ta angel fenta, the things having been announced. This is quite a common thing at GCSE. Watch out for it. Understanding strictly, that's a present participle. Strictly, it means the things being said. So that is a present passive participle. That's the only way it can make sense there. So there's some Greeks there, the Greeks there, that he's asked the same question to, and through interpretation, through an interpreter, hermeneos, understanding the things being said. And he asked, obviously the same question, for what money? For what money? Dexaintan? Now we've got to translate this really as for what money they would accept Sorry, I've got technical issues here. Anyway, for what money they would accept katakayen. Kayo is to burn. So katakayen, to completely burn up their dead parents in a fire. Puri, puros. So he's asking them not to eat their parents, which they, it seems, have a religious commitment to do. And he's asking them, well, cremate them instead. Don't eat them. Don't gently fry them in oil and eat them, but katakayen then. Totally burn them to ashes. But they, ba'o is to shout. Anabo'er santes. That's a weak aorist participle. Mega, having shouted up big, literally is what that means. So having made a great shout of protest, ordered him out on. Euphemane. Okay. A euphemism is a nice way of referring to something that's not at all nice. Blasphemy is the idea of saying something that would upset people's religious sensibilities. They want him now, in the vocab we're told to translate this as to be silent. In other words, not to speak terrible things. So if you can think of that as a sort of double negative. So the reaction is to shout loudly, mega, and they order him, and he's the king of Persia, but they're just so outraged, they order him not to say such terrible things. Obviously the Greek audience for Herodotus and his stories of his travels, they're meant to be highly amused by this. That even the greatest taboo in one culture can be anything but a taboo in another culture. So it reflects quite nicely on the Persians that Darius has the time and the inclination to listen to his many subjects. But it's also a lesson to the Greeks, I think, about cultural sensitivity and the idea that things that might shock one type of person may absolutely not shock another type of person or people. I think I've said enough, in that I'm not really saying enough at the moment of any use. So I'll stop. I think that's the end of the set text. Prose for the moment. So there we go.